If we let Mr. Putin get away with what he's now trying to do, steal parts of a country that he doesn't own, we're going back to the 1930s, and we really can't afford that.
Now, of course, we're continuing to keep you up to date on the latest in the ongoing peace negotiations for Ukraine. Europe is standing quite literally by the Ukrainian president and pledging their collective support. But what exactly does that look like? How can Europe actually help Ukraine on the battlefield? And what can we expect from tomorrow's meeting in DC, which was supposed to be a one-on-one meeting with President Trump and Zelensky, but now will include 7 other European leaders? We're going to be finding out. Plus, the Times Travel team are going to be popping up, sharing their top travel tips. We'll find out whether you're actually getting what you pay for at doggy daycare. And author Felicity Cloak mounts a robust defense of the American cuisine. Now, in the last hour, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen stood beside Volodymyr Zelensky at a press conference and pledged Europe's ongoing support for Ukraine.
As I've often said, Ukraine must become a steel porcupine, undigestible for potential invaders. We welcome President Trump's willingness to contribute to Article 5-like security guarantees for Ukraine. And the coalition of the willing, including the European Union, is ready to do its share.
Now, we know that a virtual meeting of European leaders has taken place. We also know that up to 7 European leaders are going to be accompanying President Zelensky tomorrow. We've got Ursula von der Leyen, the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer will all be attending the meeting at Washington, D.C. We don't exactly know the details if they're all going to be at the room at the same time. But what does this European support actually look like? Well, speaking to the Sunday Times today, Conservative MP and former Minister of State for Security Tom Tugendhat said that he doubts that Europe has sufficient arms, manufacturing and military capability. He told the paper, until the Germans actually make the weapons they're talking about, until the French actually put serious money into defence, then the only serious European deterrents to Russian aggression today are Poland and Finland. Well, joining us now with his analysis is Lieutenant General Toorn van Loon, who helped NATO lead the International Security Assistance Force and commanded the Dutch and German Corps. General, good afternoon. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yeah, good afternoon.
What do you make of what you're hearing so far? We have spoken in the last 6 months. You have been very, very adamant that Europe needs to step up. Are you encouraged by what you're hearing so far?
Yeah, well, of course, we live in interesting times. It's probably an understatement. When you think you've understood, then something else happens. The Alaska meeting, or the second Munich, as some people already called it, it's certainly surprising again. And I utterly believe that European support for Ukraine should not only be seen strictly in military means as well. What we do now with these 7 European leaders, or maybe a few less or a few more, that will join with Zelensky also mean that we support Ukraine in their relationship with the United States, which has been very troublesome as well. So I think first and foremost, it needs to be very clear we stand with Ukraine and we're going to treat Ukraine as a partner. And I think that's the most important bit. We start at the beginning, and then we need to talk about the military component.
When it comes to the military component itself, though, are you convinced that the European countries have got enough of the ground troops that they would need, enough of the ammunition that would be needed to seriously put up opposition on Ukrainian soil and push back on the Russian troops? Do they have that capability?
A couple of comments. First of all, I think the Europeans have stepped up dramatically in the last couple of years. So we've already overtaken the Americans in support, not only in the financial support for Ukraine, but also in the military support to Ukraine. We have done that with the provision of technology. Companies like Rheinmetall have actually opened factories in Ukraine that are building equipment there at a relatively high pace. Same is also with ammunition. But that is one side. It's the physical element. The other one is the more mental element to this. Do we want to do this? Do we want to support Ukraine? And I think there Europe is actually moving much faster. I think we're sending the message, yeah, it might be hard. It will be hard. The other thing that we can keep saying, can we do this? Is not unnecessary. I find that completely irrelevant. Whether we can or cannot, we are going to do it anyhow. We must do it. My country is a very good example. When in 1940 we were invaded by Germany, we were not ready at all, not even close. We should have basically given up and said, sorry, we can't do it. But that was not the choice that our soldiers were given. They had to do it whatever they've been given. And what we now need to do in the entire European society is make sure that our boys and girls get the best that we can. And I think then we can actually not only defend Ukraine, we can defend Europe and Europe's interests.
No, go ahead, continue.
The equipment that you need to do that, the volume of equipment is of course problematic. We will need to step up the production faster, not necessarily to defeat Russia today, but to make sure that we can do it in 4 to 5 years. If Russia would get into a major fight with Europe as a whole today, they would be in serious trouble. I think our ammunition concerns are not even close to what the Russian ammunition problems would be. And you already mentioned Poland and Finland. These are already pretty substantial armies. And if we support these armies with whatever we have, a German tank division is a German tank division. And it's still quite a formidable fighting force.
General, there is a proposal that has been floated, reported by various news outlets of a guarantee for Ukraine. The American side proposed as a non-NATO Article 5 type guarantee. Supposedly, we've been told that Vladimir Putin was not as objecting to it as he was of NATO troops on the ground in Ukraine. But in principle, that would give an Article 5 type guarantee to Ukraine, who of course are not members of NATO, but the idea that if they were attacked again, then NATO members would enter and fight on their behalf. Do you think this is workable?
Well, it's certainly a very clear message. You heard Frau von der Leyen just say an Article 5-like solution. That 2-3 years ago for the European Union would be unthinkable. What we're now doing that we're understanding that something dramatic, something drastic has to be done, and I think we actually can be very blunt about this. If Europe as a whole says, okay, once and never again, I think we can. And yeah, it will be painful, and yeah, it will be difficult, and yeah, there will be consequences. I understand all of that. All of that is true, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing it. We have no choice. If we let Mr. Putin get away with what he's now trying to do, steal parts of a country that he doesn't own, we're going back to the 1930s, and we really can't afford that.
Lieutenant General Toorn van Loon, thank you so much for giving us your time. Always good to speak with you. Lieutenant General, I should say, Toorn van Loon there. He helped NATO lead the International Security Assistance Force and commanded the German and Dutch Corps. Always very frank with his thoughts, always repeating that it's not just military assistance, but it's general assistance that Ukraine needs on all aspects.